it's me, Minty, and by the time you're watching this, it has probably been around 2 weeks since the excerpt for the next Warriors book, Wind, came out. And speaking of Wind, I was excited to go discuss it, as it got me theorizing a lot. And I wanted to check what everyone else had to say about it, and yeah, maybe you've seen it too. But people are absolutely raging at Squirrelstar on the internet right now over her choice to not take action immediately over the Splashtail issue. If I've understood them correctly, they aren't mad at her for not taking action. They are mad at her because of her actions in Squirrelflight's Hope, where she was mad at Bramblestar for doing what she apparently is doing now, and she's being labeled a hypocrite by like half the community. That doesn't really make sense to me. She's saying to stay out of RiverClan's business and let them make the first move. And with the sisters, she argued with Bramblestar because she wanted to stay out of their business and stay peaceful unless they did something first. How exactly is that hypocritical? Now, obviously, with Squirrelstar being my favorite character, I am going to be biased when discussing her. But I feel the criticism she's receiving right now isn't well discerned, and I especially don't feel like her being called a hypocrite is right. I will be discussing Squirrelflight's Hope a lot in this video, so spoilers for that book. And correct me if I get some details wrong, it has been over 4 years since I read that book, and have relied a bit on the Warriors Wiki to fill in my memory gaps. Now, with Squirrelstar being the current gossip, I had a feeling people would have things to say about her. I completely understand not liking her course of action, or lack thereof, but to call it hypocritical? Oh, get out of here! If you call her a hypocrite due to her actions during the Sisters vs. Now, that is assuming a lot of things. It is first of all assuming the conflict is the same. It is not. The situation is not the same. The end goal for the antagonists, if you can even call the sisters that, is not the same. The situation with the sisters was a territory dispute, and their end goal was to be left alone for a moon or so before they moved. The Splashtail situation is a leadership dispute, with his end goal being world domination. As you can tell, these have very different levels of consequences. If Squirrelstar got her way in her Super Edition, not so much would happen. The sisters would leave eventually, and SkyClan get their territory. If Squirrelstar intervenes in RiverClan, it would have a lot more long-lasting and negative effects. If she wins, then RiverClan will think whatever leader is chosen now is not a legitimate leader, and a lot of cats might be hurt or even killed. It makes sense for her to step back in the moment and try to think of a plan that doesn't cause bloodshed, like she tried with the sisters, which makes me more confused as to why she's being called a hypocrite, because as I mentioned in the beginning, her approach to this situation isn't too different if you look into it. And it would be even worse if ThunderClan were to somehow lose despite having double RiverClan's population. There would again be the bloodshed and potential loss of life. It would make ThunderClan look weak, and worst of all, their clan relations would take a huge hit. So far, ThunderClan has no one on its side. The closest we have is a hint that Terrastar doubts Splashtail. Leafstar is pretty strongly with him, and Tigerstar didn't exactly seem to believe Frostpaw. So at the best, ThunderClan's relations with the other clans will take a huge hit for a long time. Think RiverClan and ThunderClan pre and post 1-star. That alliance still hasn't recovered. What I'm getting at is that these are clearly two very different situations that require different type of action. You cannot solve a leadership dispute like you solve a territory dispute. Second, if you call Squirrelstar a hypocrite, you are also assuming she has the grounds to take the same style of hard stance as she did in Squirrelflight's Hope. The sisters had done absolutely nothing wrong before the clan started messing with them. Their crime was minding their business on their unclaimed land. Everyone knew the sisters were planning on leaving soon, and that they had no violent intentions. All the reasons Squirrelflight had for a strong stance was based on information known by everyone. They would leave soon anyway, the leader's pregnant, it is all information they knew. That is not the case now. Most cats believe Splashtail is an innocent little boy who has never done anything wrong in his entire life. If she attacked RiverClan now, what would the other leaders think? She wanted to. She believed some hallucinating teenager and her emo companion. Until more of the leaders know the truth, she simply cannot risk an invasion. Interfering in another clan requires backup from both the other leaders and from their own clanmates. Tigerstar took over RiverClan without the other leaders and his own clanmate support, and look what happened. ShadowClan's relations to RiverClan have possibly been permanently severed. Tigerstar's reputation is now that of a controlling idiot, if it wasn't before, and the stability within his own clan was shaken to the point it ended with a cat getting exiled and 2 others going willingly. And to add, the reason for the exile was dumb as hell. Berryheart, if you're going to exercise your right to free speech using the rule I approved of, you might as well just leave. Excuse me, what? And the reason for Tigerstar's quick decision to send Berryheart into exile for not liking him was partly because of how divided the clan has become because of her, and not his own unpopular actions, apparently. We've already seen cats leave ThunderClan due to not trusting or respecting Squirrelstar, namely Flywhisker and Snaptooth. So it is entirely possible that it could happen again. And while ThunderClan would go along with whatever Squirrelstar does now that her leadership is approved by StarClan, it does not make them trust her more. And I'm sure a lot of them would question her choice to go into RiverClan without any guaranteed support from another leader. And what if they distrust her enough to vote her out? Then we get Ivystar. But Ivypool wants to interfere in RiverClan. So what would ThunderClan do then? Vote her out too? And who'd be after her? ThunderClan would put itself in a terrible position if it changed leadership so many times during such a short period of time. Constant change of leadership shows instability. Think of the last time a clan changed their leadership that rapidly. That would be ShadowClan in the first arc. And they were quite well known for, And I'm not saying ThunderClan would turn into ShadowClan 2.0, but I'm just trying to say unstable leadership is not what ThunderClan needs. And speaking of leadership, I want to drive home point number 3. Does Squirrelstar have the power to just go attack RiverClan? Of course she does, but I'm talking about more than what she could technically do. Squirrelstar herself mentioned that she's a very new leader. Her very first actions will define her in the other leaders' eyes. Losing all of their trust this early is not good. Power is more than physical strength. It is also about respect. If you have the respect of a lot of people, you have more power than you might think. When you're strong, you only have power through their fear, as we could see with ShadowClan or RiverClan. But when you are respected, you have more than just your strength. You have allies and others' trust. Squirrelstar must know this. If something went wrong with an attack on RiverClan, it would have horrible consequences. Which goes into my 4th point. Her actions have consequences. A lot of people I've seen completely ignore that. Call her a hypocrite all you want, but so much is at stake here. A lot more than the situation with the sisters. In Squirrelflight's hope, had Ramblestar stayed home and not participated in the battle, not too many consequences would have happened. How do I know? SkyClan didn't participate, and look how hated SkyClan is right now. But as I mentioned, Squirrelstar's hypothetical attack on RiverClan would cause huge negative consequences on ThunderClan's relations. It would tank the respect and trust for Squirrelstar, both within and outside ThunderClan, and blood would be spilt. It would be even worse if, for example, SkyClan jumps in to save RiverClan, which isn't out of character for Leafstar. And between Leafstar and Squirrelstar, who is more respected? Whose side would the other leaders be more likely to take? You've got to think about the long-term consequences. This is especially risky considering ThunderClan's history of involving themselves in others' business, which Tigerstar pointed out in the first chapter of the excerpt, which, by the way, unlike Squirrelstar's actions, is actually hypocritical, because dude, what in the world have you been doing these last 2 books? Even after taking all of this into account, we also have to wonder if Squirrelstar was actually giving Nightheart her real opinion. At the end of the day, he's still a normal warrior, And action in such a serious situation might not be something to discuss outside her close circle, which would be Ivypool, Jayfeather, and Alderheart. She probably did tell the truth to Nightheart, but still. If you look back at all the points we've gone through together now, it would be more than clear that Squirrelstar's actions in the Wind excerpt does not make her a hypocrite. Because fact is that it is a very different conflict from the one with the sisters, and it requires very different actions to solve. She needs to tread carefully. I think that she might hope an opposition movement rises up in RiverClan, kind of like the rebels in the Broken Code. She would be able to help them without getting directly involved with Splashtail. She would not ruin her or ThunderClan's reputation, and her clanmates' lives would be spared. So not only is she not a hypocrite, her actions have very justifiable explanations. I hope that you can see my point of view here, and that the people who genuinely call her a hypocrite think over. Other than that, I have nothing more to add, but if you found a flaw in my reasoning or felt like I forgot something, feel free to comment. I read every comment, even if it's a whole essay, so don't hold back. Just write whatever you want as long as you're respectful to me and everyone else you interact with. Goodbye, have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video.